Nigeria, like many other countries on the African continent, has had its fair share of electricity problems. The country has a woeful lack of generating capacity, and part of the energy that it produces goes to waste because it cannot be distributed on the dilapidated grid. Just last year, the national grid collapsed twice in September and December, throwing Nigerians into darkness. Electricity suppliers aren't allowed to charge cost-reflective tariffs and struggle to collect revenue due to inadequate metering, which deters new investment. Now, more than 200 million people rely on generators to power their homes and businesses. Joining me now to expand on this is Nigerian journalist Ekeomah Eneji. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. 200 million people in Nigeria being reliant on noisy generators to power their homes and businesses. That really is quite something. So not to be dependent on the national grid. Why is that? What is at the crux of the problem here?
Good morning, and thanks for having me. Really, the electricity issue in Nigeria is something that we have come to cope with. You know, every Nigerian has already come to understand that the country is unable to provide proper, constant electricity supply, and so we rely on generators. And that is because sometimes in some communities you find that you don't even have power supply. You might even go days without, weeks, months without having power supply. I'll give you a typical example. So there's some communities, some areas, and when I mean communities, I'm not even talking about rural areas. I'm talking about urban areas. Sometimes the transformers get bad, and the authorities don't even come to their aid. So you'd see that the people come together to fix it themselves, and this could take months, considering how much they have put together to put that. And so they rely on generators. And you know what the cost is right now. Since the fuel subsidy removal, people have to buy petrol at a higher rate just to make sure that their businesses and their means of livelihood can still have that backup of electricity. So it's really something that, in Nigeria, it's a big issue. And Nigerians are really suffering a whole lot for the lack of electricity. Case in point, where I stay, the past 2 days we didn't have power supply up until late at night, and it's just a norm. It's sad reality indeed.
Yeah, a sad reality in Africa's biggest economy and population. What challenges would you say electricity suppliers are grappling with as they try to ensure some supply? I mean, with less than 50% of the country's population having access to regular power supply?
Okay, so it might interest you to note that as much as there are different challenges. The challenges, of course, infrastructure. So we have some of the transmission we're able to generate, but the transmission the infrastructure is not there. It's old. There has not been enough. Again, it still comes back to leadership. There has not been enough focus on the electricity sector. I mean, Nigeria, like you said, like we all know, it's the largest economy in Africa. We have the potential. We have what it takes to fix all of these things. But there's just that issue of strategy. There's just that issue of improper infrastructure. There's just that issue of proper policies in place to put these things in order. And so it might also interest you to know that we supply electricity to smaller countries, to Niger, for example, before the ECOWAS sanctions came and then we had to withdraw. We supply electricity to some other countries. So if we're able to supply to some other countries, what happens to us? Why can't we, be able to distribute to communities? And it might also interest you to know that millions of Nigerians are not even connected to the national grid. We have communities, even in Abuja, where I stay, that up until recently did not even have power supply. There was a total blackout, no connection, nothing. So what happens? And this is just, like I said, improper policies, improper planning, improper structure, just a whole lot of myriad of issues, and one other thing that some of the distributors are complaining about is the fact that people are unable. They have a lot of debt. They are unable to pay for the power supply. So when they are unable to pay, they do not have enough money to continue to invest, and all of that. So it's a whole lot of issues. But recently, the Minister of Power came up to say that 2024, we're going to be seeing a new policy. A lot of things are going to be changing. And so we're looking forward to something new, since we have a new minister now and it's a new year.
So the problem of the chronic electricity shortages really boils down to a lack of accountability and leadership. I mean, you speak about policy, you speak about planning. That in itself points to a leadership crisis of some sort.
Yes, indeed. It's just the same thing that happens to different other sectors in the country, and I speak very, very passionately because it has affected me personally. It has affected everybody, every Nigerian in different areas. Businesses are shutting down because of these things, and the government is aware. So when issues like this happen, and the government knows this is not something that has happened in recent times. I mean, it's something that has gone on for 20 years, 30 years. We grew up knowing that we cannot rely on we cannot rely on the electricity supply of the country. We have to always have a backup plan. So imagine how many years ago that has been, and then it just clearly shows that if the leadership, if there were policies, if the leaders were interested in this, it should have been done. It should have been resolved. There's a lot. It's multifaceted. Someone comes up and says, "Oh, we're going to do this." Another minister comes up and says, "We're going to do that," but we're still in darkness. So it's a lot of issues, and we hope that the new administration, like the minister has assured, and the president as well, we hope that this new administration will be the game changer. Will bring hope, like they always say, the renewed hope will bring hope in the electricity sector.
Yeah. What about the impact of the weakness of the Naira, as well as a lack of a tariff review? How are those factors exacerbating the situation? What sort of ripple effect are you seeing as you take a look at business and just people's day-to-day lives?
Okay, when you talk about day-to-day life, so I'll just explain to you how it works, right? So you wake up in the morning, and in Nigeria we say there is no light. So you wake up, there is no light. You're going to your place of work. You have to spend when you come back, or you're having a business. Let's forget the households, because let's even talk about businesses. So because you're running on generators, it means that you're going to increase the cost of whatever product or service that you're offering or you're selling, and that also has effect on the common man, right? And so when there is no light, like in Nigerian parlance, as we say it, when there is no electricity supply, or there's no power, there's no water. You're unable to pump water to use. And so apart from the fact that you're having issues in the household, how about healthcare? How about issues of security, which Nigeria is dealing with? So imagine a whole community is in darkness. That gives access for attacks, bandit attacks, and all of that. There are no street lights, and this has ripple effect on everybody, on the country, on the people, on businesses. Businesses are unable to thrive. Like you cannot even have a business in Nigeria and bank on the national grid. That's a joke.
Yeah.
You cannot. So imagine you're running like a frozen food store that you need power supply, constant power supply to keep your your goods fresh, you're gonna really run at a loss, because if you do not have generators, and you know that having a generator means you're buying petrol that has increased by over 200% in just how many months? I'm even hearing that it might even go higher. So it's really an issue that the government needs to tackle. A lot of sectors are affected by the lack of electricity. Apart from household, businesses as well, healthcare, schools, security. It has a ripple effect on various sectors of the economy, and of course, like you mentioned, the naira. And so when the electricity supply is not there and businesses are shutting down, it affects the economy. People are not able to trust that, I can come into this country, power supply is going to be expensive for you to run a business in Nigeria because you need backup. And so it has effects also on the economy.
Yeah, Ekeomah, let me tell you that what you're telling us is not just unique to Nigeria. South Africa in itself is grappling with its own challenges when it comes to electricity supply, infrastructure issues, and, of course, stabilizing the national grid. You spoke a little bit about the Minister of Electricity and some of the plans that are in place there. What has President Bola Tinubu promised? How is he thinking of navigating the challenges around the national grid?
Okay, so recently he's focused on enhancing I'm talking about the minister now. He spoke and the Tinubu, according to the minister, he mentioned that the administration of President Bola Tinubu is focused on enhancing electricity distribution and transmission infrastructure to minimize commercial losses and technical losses. So he says they are reviewing a whole lot of things. They are trying to get mini and micro grids. They're trying to make sure that it's not just a national grid, there's a super national grid, regional grid. So like you mentioned, it's not just Nigeria, but what we want to see is the action. We've heard all of these things in time past. The Buhari-led administration, Jonathan administration, Obasanjo, we've heard a lot of things regarding the electricity aspect of Nigeria, but we want to see action. And so we will not just rest on this initiative or rest on these promises. The people want to see action, because they cannot trust just the mere words. Sometimes we even the increase the tariffs. The tariff increases. We pay for these things, and then we don't even get we don't even see what we're paying for. Mm-hmm. So you pay high tariff, you're not getting it, and then somebody comes up and says, "Oh, it's going to change." We just fold our arms and just watch. I mean, what can we do? But we hope that as time goes by, as the year progresses, they have said they are starting up immediately in the beginning of this year. We hope that we will be seeing a lot of implementation of all of these promises, the implementation of all of these policies, and we hope that the electricity issue in Nigeria becomes better.
Mm-hmm. And insofar as, we spoke a great deal about generators being used and the reliance on generators. What about other options like solar power? How is that being, distributed or even spoken about when it comes to some plans and solutions, as well as just also looking at the impact on the poorest of the poor, those who cannot even afford a generator? How are they managing?
Okay, so it's not the solar option is a bit more expensive than having generators, and we have different levels of generators, and so you would find that maybe 5 or 6 in every 10 households in Nigeria have a generator, no matter how poor, no matter how low income earning you are, you would just have a generator. That's like the easiest option that you have. But solar panels, inverters, and all of that are pretty much expensive. So having a generator in Nigeria is almost like not a big deal. We have there's something we call I'm better than my neighbor. You know, it's a slang in Nigeria, because that's to show that's like the smallest type of generators that you get. Some people cannot afford these things, and you see they have to probably get power banks. You know, they have to get different things to power their phones.
Yeah.
They keep up and all of that. So there are different alternatives that people use for, you know, if there is no power supply. But the easiest and the most common one is the generators of different sizes.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us there. Speaking to us from Nigeria, journalist Ekeomah Eneji, speaking about the reliance on generators. More than 200 million people in Nigeria relying on generators to power their homes and businesses because of the issues around stabilizing the national grid.